Welcome to Caribbean Global Network News and Sports. I am Scott Wilson. In today's headlines, Buju not yet legal for Grenada. And in sports, ban lifted on Jamaican bobsledder. No request for exemption for Buju Banton to enter Grenada. Reports are that the immigration and labor officials in Grenada say the promoters of an event featuring Buju Banton have not yet made any request for an exemption allowing him to enter the island. Buju Banton, whose real name is Mark Anthony Myrie, will headline the Night of Love concert scheduled for May 11 as part of a tour of several Caribbean countries. Last week, the Trinidad and Tobago government announced an exemption for the entertainer because the country's Immigration Act prohibits, quote, persons who have been convicted of or admit to have committed any crime which, if committed in Trinidad and Tobago, would be punishable with imprisonment for 1 or more years, end quote. The legislation also allows for the Minister of National Security to issue a written permit to allow any person to enter the island or to remain therein. Grenada's immigration law also has similar provisions, but the final directive will be at the discretion of the Immigration Minister after an application is made for a work permit at the Ministry of Labour. Grenada's Minister of Immigration is Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell. Immigration officials have explained that as a Caribbean Community CARICOM national, there is provision for all CARICOM nationals to enter the island. However, the Minister of Immigration must approve entry or denial. 30 million Jamaican dollars spent on plastic ban educational campaign. Government Senator and Bureau of Standards Jamaica BSJ Chairman Matthew Samuda says that approximately $30 million has been expended to date on the education campaign surrounding the ban on single-use plastic bags and polystyrene foam in Jamaica. The ban, which began on January 1, covers the importation, manufacture, distribution, and use of the materials. Senator Samuda says that the campaign involves the use of, quote, radio, television, and print media, as well as electronic billboards to ensure that all stakeholders, consumers and manufacturers are informed about the ban and are on board in terms of the production and use of environmentally friendly packaging materials, end quote. The campaign is being undertaken by the National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA, with the support of the Jamaica Information Service, JIS, and the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA. Crawford to be reinstated to the Senate. The People's National Party, PNP, is expected to reappoint Damian Crawford to the Senate. The decision made by the party's National Executive Council was disclosed at a meeting at the University of the West Indies in St. Andrew on Sunday. Crawford resigned from the upper house last month to contest the April 4 by-election in Portland Eastern. He was defeated by the governing Jamaica Labour Party's Anne-Marie Vaz by some 300 votes. At the same time, PNP caretaker for West Central St. James, Dr. Andre Horton, is expected to replace Noel Slowly in the Senate. Party promoters to pay for cleanup of car parks. Party promoters are expected to pay an additional special fee of $20,000 to $30,000 to cover cleanup costs, according to Mayor of Kingston and St. Andrew, Delroy Williams. The new agreement came out of a meeting between Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation, the KSAMC, and event promoters in Kingston last Tuesday. The promoters are also exploring the idea of an association of promoters, and there is also talk of establishing a registry of promoters. Promoters attending last week's meeting included Supreme Team Limited, organizers Sands and Oversaw, My Scheme, Mobay Marlin Tournament, Ramesh Entertainment, and The Network. And over to sports. Bobsledder free to represent Jamaica again as ban lifted. History-making Jamaican Olympian Jasmine Fenlator Victorian, who registered an adverse analytical finding for a banned substance at the 2018 Winter Olympic Games in South Korea, is now free to compete once more. According to a story in the Jamaica Gleaner, the International Bobsleigh and Skeleton Federation, IBSF, has lifted the provisional suspension which was placed on her. The ban, according to documentation acquired by the paper, was lifted on March 9 of this year. Fenlator Victorian and her legal team, along with President of the Jamaica Bobsleigh and Skeleton Federation, JBSF, Chris Stokes, argued from the get-go that the nature of the substance and the small amount that was found in the USA-based athlete system indicated that her objective was not to gain an unfair advantage. a key argument in their appeal to the IBSF. Melbourne are Senior Cup champions. Melbourne are the 2019 Senior Cup champions after taking first innings points in their drawn two-day final against the Jamaica Defence Force JDF at Sabina Park on Sunday. Resuming on 102 for 2 in reply to JDF's first innings score of 113, Melbourne were all out for 179. Shamari Brown took 5 for 31, including a hat-trick, and looked likely to dismiss Melbourne for much less. However, Yannick Elliott's defiant 31 helped eke out a valuable 66-run first innings lead for Melbourne. Melbourne coach Andrew Richardson said, quote, "Our bowling unit did a fantastic job in the first innings, and that set the tone for the rest of the game," end quote. Meanwhile, JDF manager Major Orbin Sibbles said he was absolutely proud of his team. Domino Association seeks to uplift sport. The National Association of Domino Bodies, NADB, is intensifying its drive to uplift the sport in Jamaica by moving from judges and referees to a more technical approach utilizing interpreters to officiate games. Hubert Davis, the first vice president of NADB, says this move will not only support the empowerment of people with hearing impairment and speech disability. Davis said that this year's NADB Business House League will be boosted significantly by the introduction of the new officiating method. Quote, "These new interpreters will assist in making the competition run smoothly because they are all students who are developing their different talents and skills, which will assist them to make better interpretation," end quote. That's it for CGN News and Sports. I'm Scott Wilson. Pleasant viewing.